Welcome, Megan Sylvester, to the Bodybuilding podcast, IFBB Pro, figure, not bikini anymore. What was the reason for the move?
I guess it was just more my natural shape. It was very much, I mean, I could have probably still stayed in bikini because I guess the good figure or good bikini competitors do have very similar shapes. But I think that I'm definitely much more figure in the way that I'm built and the way that I grow and the fact that I like to train the way that I do. I just think that I was definitely much more suited for figure than I was bikini. Plus, I really struggle to grow my glutes. Like, believe it or not, I do train them properly and I do train them quite heavy, and they just don't grow the way that a bikini girl's glutes grow. So figure was definitely much more my calling than bikini. But I'd always loved that class. I'd always really looked up to that class, and it's something that I'd always said it to previous coaches before I went to Cuba. So it was just when it was going to happen, and it was just after obviously I won my pro card that I actually decided to move over.
You were quite a muscly bikini girl. Like your shoulders and your quads looked pretty big.
Yeah, they were. I did have to pose in a way on my back pose when I was doing bikini to not show off the sweep too much. Had to, obviously, normally you'd try and turn out the knees and try and pop the glutes back to get the adductors and quad and glutes to pop. But I kind of I had to try and do it without turning my knees out, because otherwise then my sweep would come round. So yeah, I just think that my quads like to grow compared to everywhere else.
Your last competition, the leanness of your quads was ridiculous. I follow your YouTube channel, and
Yes.
I was watching all that, and your legs, the cuts in your legs are just unbelievable.
They were deep. I think because there's a lot of muscle there, that's why the level of condition there looked even better than kind of everywhere else. Like, I was dead lean everywhere, but because I guess the level of muscle was very different to the quads, that's why the condition wasn't showing as much everywhere else. But hopefully next time it'll be a little bit better.
Do you think you'll be more successful in figure than bikini?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have. I came ninth in my pro debut in the bikini class. So I did actually do the pro show then, on the night that I actually won my pro card. But I was never gonna be like them ever. I couldn't be like that. I'm not that strutty style. I like, honestly, when the pro bikini girls come on stage, it is mesmerizing to watch how they move, how they look. Like, it's just incredible. But like, I'm just not like that. So I would have never have gotten to a high level with bikini. I think that probably low level pro shows I probably could have done quite well in. I do think that with my shape, as soon as I get like the muscle mass there to be on that shape, I do think that I could be all right and quite competitive at kind of higher end tier pro shows. I'm not saying that I'm ever going to win the Olympia, because let's be honest, I'm not going to. And you do have to be very realistic with yourself. But I do believe that I could get to the Olympia in figure, whereas I wouldn't have been able to get to the Olympia in bikini, just with the way that I look, and the way that it just wasn't really for me.
I didn't know you did a bikini pro show, actually. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. So the night that I won my pro show in Alicante, I did well, because there was the pro show for, I think it was men's physique, or no, men's classic and women's bikini. Cuba just said, "Oh, go on, just jump into the pro show," and I was like, "Okay." So yeah, it was actually quite nice because I get on really well with Phoebe Hagen. I've actually competed with Phoebe, the pro bikini girl from the UK, since we first started competing. I think we did our first competitions together. So yeah, I think it was nice to actually be able to do it with her, because I felt a bit more at ease backstage, and she was trying to help me how to do this eye walk that needed to be a minute long compared to my 10-second one that I needed earlier in the day. So yeah, it was all fun and games.
Yeah. You've done 2 figure pro shows, is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
two. I was trying to think then. I was thinking, have I done 3? But it was Cuba that did 3. No, I only did 2. I did the Europa and then the Romania. So I came second call outs in Alicante. I was actually really happy with that. Do you know, because of the whole Corona thing, we wanted to do shows at the back end of the year just to kind of ease our way into the Pro League, I guess, a little bit, and do, I guess, as you could call them, lower level tiered pro shows. But because of Corona and the little amount of shows that they actually did have last year, there were so many people, so many pros at both events, really, really top end athletes in every category. So it was actually really nice to go and watch and spectate and see like these incredible humans on stage. And I guess it was a little bit daunting as an athlete, but yeah, I was really happy with where I got placed. I like my places were very fair, but the level of athlete that I actually, the levels of athletes that I actually came at higher than in the ranks, I was really, really, really kind of almost kind of shocked and took back by how well I actually did, and I got really great feedback from the judges as well. So it was just the obvious: you need more size, but take your time. Don't try and rush it.
So what, if you're taking your time, what's the next plan?
So the next plan, I am going to compete this year. It's more a case of, and obviously we can talk about anything on the podcast. It's more a case of don't push drugs, Meg. Because you do have a very feminine look, you do have a very lovely shape, and if you start to push things like that, it can actually take it away. So that was the feedback that I actually got given by the guy who ran both competitions. So Emilio Martinez, he actually gave me that feedback. So it was actually quite nice to get it from him. But the plan is to compete this year. I'm going to compete on the 23rd of October at the Hurricane Pro out in Florida, as long as I can get there. Obviously, due to the restrictions and stuff, we'll have to wait and see. And then I'm going to do the Romanian then, and then there's another competition out in Benidorm a few weeks after that called the Big Man. So I think that all the man, Mr. Can't even say it, Evolution. I blame the braces. So I think I'm going to do that one as well.
Do you prefer flying out to go to a show? Because most of your shows seem to be abroad.
I'd love to be able to do one in the UK, but they haven't got any for figure.
Oh, really?
No. So the Arnold's UK, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do the Arnold's UK because I've not placed high enough at any event yet to be able to do it. But there is another one called the British Grand Prix, which I think that they're going to pull this year anyway, but they weren't going to have my class there. Every other class was in it last year apart from figure. So hopefully at some point there will be a figure pro show, but there's not even one at the Arnold's this year for figure.
Really? That's really strange. Their physique, women's physique.
Yeah, women's physique. I don't think women's bodybuilding's there. Women's physique, women's bikini, fitness, and then for men, all classes apart from men's physique, I think.
You've competed with UKBFF. Were they your first shows?
Yes, yeah. So my first ever show was the Midlands with UKBFF in September 2016.
What's the biggest difference between UKBFF and IFBB? Because that always used to be the way to become an IFBB Pro.
So I guess when I actually competed in the UKBFF, I don't know if it's different now, but it was very much similar to the way that the Two Bros was ran. To be fair, back in the day, it was the most prestigious kind of federation that you could compete with. It was very well ran. Obviously, then they broke off the partnership with the IFBB, and then Two Bros came about, and again, the shows that I've been to with them, both very well run, and it's just again the way that you actually attain your pro card. So it just became the new thing that was the most prestigious federation in the UK to actually compete with. But I used to enjoy competing with the UKBFF, but obviously since they then took away the pro card from that federation, I guess because people want to be able to compete in the pro league eventually, Two Bros is now the one to compete with.
Yeah, I know they've recently put out something, the UKBFF, saying that, because I know previously if you compete with them, you can't compete with anyone else.
Yeah,
but now they're saying that you can.
Yeah, I think that because
You
they
have
probably
to.
because they've not got as many members anymore, I guess people are starting to just go elsewhere because they weren't allowed to compete anywhere else. But if there's an opportunity for an amateur to be able to compete at some point during the year and they want to jump in with UKBFF, at least they can do now. But I think that you'll find that many people will probably just stick with the Two Bros because it leads to many different things. I guess the access with Two Bros as well is you can do the regionals and then you can go and compete abroad. Whereas obviously back in the day when it was UKBFF, you could compete with them, and then if you qualified, you could go and compete at different shows abroad that they allowed you to go and compete at. But with Two Bros, obviously you can get your regional qualification, and then anybody can go and compete abroad. And I think it's really nice for people to be able to go and experience that, because it's great to be able to compete in your own country, but then going abroad and experiencing what it's like in other countries, especially against what other people look like across the world, it's a really fun experience, and you get to meet lots of new people, different people, get different ideas. So I think that kind of pathway, I think's very nice for people to be able to go and do that.
It's always nice to fly away anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely. Being in a miserable hotel room when it's all doom and gloom outside in the UK compared to going abroad and being able to do your check-ins on a bikini on a balcony, it's very different.
Well, your check-ins is with your fiance?
Yes.
So do you still take pictures and videos, or is it just done by eye, or do you like keep a log and stuff?
Yeah, so I actually check in just like any other client. I use the check-in form, I send it to him on his WhatsApp. I take my own pictures. I don't get him to take them, just so that it's kind of separate, and then I just send it across. I think that if we did everything face to face and just had a conversation about it, there'd never be any break off between him being my partner and him being my coach. So I think having that differentiation between it all and being able to just still be a client for me is quite important. So we just check in. I check in as normal, wait for my reply just as normal. Obviously when we're training it's slightly different because we train together and you can see the way that my training's going in person. I don't need to send in my training clips, apart from if we ever train separately, I do film my sessions and send them to him just to make sure that everything was a-okay. But when it comes to bodybuilding, I am just definitely just a client. I'm not his missus.
Yeah, I saw and this has actually helped me train since I saw this on your YouTube channel, that you said that when you're doing client stuff, it's just client stuff. When you're at the gym, you only talk about training, and then when you're at home, you don't talk about those things. It's just home stuff, and that's helped my training massively. So now when I go to the gym, I don't talk about anything other than what I'm doing right now, with either my partner or my training partner. And I don't even look at my phone anymore. And it's made such a big change. Even if I'm looking at my phone, I now write down in a like on a paper what I'm doing instead of typing it in my phone, because then you're just distracted.
Yeah, I agree. Having the log
massively changed my training.
Yeah, I think that being able to, I think it's called decompartmentalating or something like that. Just being able to
Sounds
split
right.
everything. Yeah. Just being able to split everything up. I think it's important to be able to focus your energy on the thing that you're actually doing, to be able to split up your life so that you don't get too stressed. It's like if I'm working and my personal phone is put in my drawer. If I'm training, and I don't have my work phone with me. That is away from my training. I'm just in the gym. If I need to change music on my phone, that's the only time, or if I'm filming Cuba, that's the only time I'll really go on my phone. And then when it's personal time, it's personal time. I think that it's a good thing for lots of people to maybe take on board and start doing it. I think that people stress less and do better.
Yeah, because even if I'm training with my friend, she like now we've like gone to say stuff, and we're like, no, can't talk about it. We'll talk about it on the way home. It's fine. So probably missing out on loads of shit, but it's made us train so much harder.
The thing is, if you forget about it as well, it probably wasn't that important.
That's very true. Yeah, even if we're like pointing something at the gym, we're like, no, I'm sorry, I can't talk about it. But it's made I don't know, it's strange, like lifting better, everything's just so much more focused.
Yeah.
No, it's good, and I learned that from you, so thank you. I also learned from Corinne about training to failure as well, and that is just again changed the game.
She's a great one to watch when it comes to training. She's someone that I really, really, really look up to when it comes to training, and the way that she's in business as well. So look up to her a lot.
I did a podcast with her a few weeks ago, and most of the time I was trying to just my mouth shut, like I was just learning so much. Brilliant. Did she used to train you? Because I know you're part of the Trained by JP
bubble. Yes. So obviously I'm a sponsored athlete, but because Cuba was coaching me before and it wasn't something that was broken, I wanted to stay with Cuba. So I just said, is it all right if I do? Because there are a few people on the team that do get coached by, I think some do get coached externally from other coaches. But because Cuba's obviously in the team anyway, and we all pretty much have the same views on things, I think that they were very happy for him to continue to coach me.
Yeah. Has he always coached you? Or have you had coaches?
Yeah, so I've had I don't know if you could call the guy that initially coached me a coach, because he was just a guy at the gym that kind of helped me. He's a lovely guy. So he helped me in my first prep, but it wasn't really like a check-in or anything like that. He just said, oh no, you look all right. So I guess it kind of brought myself down. But he kind of guided me through it, but he wasn't really a coach. But then I've had 2 other coaches apart from that.
What's the difference? Has there been a big difference with training, or like different
The first coach that I had didn't do my training. I did my own training, so it was just kind of a diet plan. The second coach that I had did do my training, but I didn't like it. So I was actually going to Cooper's gym at that time. And I used to watch him train, and I used to just copy what he did, but I definitely did it wrong, and I definitely was doing too much, I think. So I used to try and see what he was doing, then I'd probably try and copy him and go on the same machine after he had, even though he doesn't know that. And then obviously when I got coached by him, he then took over with my training and with my diet. And he's obviously learned a lot since even I started with him. So the way that the diet is set out, the way that training is set out is slightly different, because you always progress. But yeah, he's taken the lead on both my nutrition and diet since then. But we did actually start going out. I think that we were boyfriend and girlfriend for, I think, about 4 or 5 months before he actually became my coach. So I did have a coach at the time, and I just said, look, there's not really much point in you coaching me, because I've got someone else. I've got Cuba who does it as well. So if I'm with him, he might as well just do it, because I have a lot of trust in him. I have a lot of respect for him, so he might as well roll with it.
Yeah. With their Trained by JP, like bubble, you said you're sponsored. What does that mean to be sponsored, to be a sponsored athlete?
So we're obviously on the forum. People get tapped into us, and we put our logs on there. We obviously interact with people with the questions on there as well. So we've got obviously our profile on there, which in hindsight gives us a lot of interaction with people. I know that it's helped bring a few clients into me, so it's kind of good exposure for us. So as much as that's us helping them with the forum, it also helps our exposure as well, which is, it's kind of a two-way street, but it works really well. We all have a lot of respect for Jordan and Corinne, so I think that the opportunity that for someone to actually offer that when it's people like them, it's a massive, like, oh wow, okay, so you actually really respect me as an athlete. That means a lot. So we have that, and then we also, well, myself, I can talk about my own kind of sponsorship. We get an allowance for the monthly supplements as well. I'm also sponsored from the clothing side as well, to obviously promote promote their clothing too. So I kind of have both whammies. I think that some people just have one, the other, and that's kind of how it rolls.
I've just realised I'm wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah, and I did think that, and I was thinking, no, we're matching.
So hard to get hold of though. My God.
Oh, yeah, I know. We're very lucky in the fact that obviously with the promotions, we do get the things early to be able to take some pictures so that you can start rolling it out so that people start to buy it. But yeah, we're very lucky that we get it.
I'm lucky that I'm a small, because it's and usually the last to go, or extra small. For my husband, he can't get anything.
No. When it kind of goes from large up to the rest, they seem to run out really, really quickly.
He's worn this t-shirt before as well.
Love it.
He'll fit in it. Yeah, exactly. When you mentioned your diet and nutrition, I know you eat a lot.
Yes.
Like more than 5,000 a lot, and that blows my mind. My diet has just gone up. I put it in here. I never get told my macros or calories. Just tell me what to eat and that's it. But just out of curiosity, because it's a lot, I put it in my Fitness Pal. I don't know how accurate that will be.
Yeah, it's quite, that or my Met Diary are both quite good.
Okay. And it came up, I think it was 3,100 calories. I've never eaten that much clean food.
Yeah.
But it's because it went up because I was fucking starving. And now I've just had to put in my breakfast cream of rice, and I know you're a fan. And yeah. I thought I was going to be sick eating it. It's still downstairs. I'll go back to it. Oh my God, it's fucking horrific. I don't know whether I just bought. So I bought it a while ago. It was just like a cheap one, so I think that might be the difference.
Yeah, I think if you go for the ones, the Cardiff Sports Nutrition one is the one that I just can't eat because it just tastes like grit and sand. But some people do really like that.
That's exactly what it tastes like. It's like eating dirt.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to plug it, but the JP one's really smooth. It's actually powder. It's not like, the grains. It's actually powder, almost like isolate. So it makes more like a paste.
Yeah, mine's not like that. It's like dust.
Yeah, no. This one, the JP one's actually a powder. So I'm not trying to plug it, but you'll not have that. Yeah, you don't have that grittiness when it comes to it. And you can blend it up in a shake if you ever are a bit pushed with time. So it actually works quite well with that too.
It's 120 grams of it.
Oh yeah.
So I put peanut butter in it to go with it, and raisins as well, and it's so sick. I'm like, maybe I should have eaten it all separate. So I'll try again tomorrow morning doing it a different way, because
Or you know what, Cooper actually did do a good how to make cream of rice on his Instagram. Check it out, because that's the way that I make it, and it just tastes like I'm eating a pudding. But I will be honest, when I started to push the calories up this time, I think that we went up to, I think it was 150. I couldn't do it anymore. I had to add in an English muffin instead.
It says on the back of it for 50 grams. So that's a serving.
That is a serving, a normal person serving.
Yeah, because I was on, I think it was 90 grams of oats, and even then I can't eat that much porridge, so I'll put it in a shake.
Oats do not do well with my digestion. I guess the gluten-free ones are all right, but no,
I'm gluten-free anyway. I'm celiac, so everything I have is gluten-free. Yeah.
You probably think that we're celiac if you came and looked at our cupboards. All of the rice-based stuff from gluten-free does digest a lot better. We're actually on the gnocchi at the moment. That goes down very well, and it's very high in carbs, even if you have like a small amount. So it actually works quite well when you're pushing for food.
I've never tried gnocchi, but the gluten-free Cocoa Pops.
Oh yeah, all the Rice Krispies, they're good as well.
So what calories are you on now? Are you back up to high?
So I'm actually on a bit of a diet at the moment. I couldn't hack it. I was sat there the other day eating my rice because obviously I've been in a surplus since November, so that's what, 7 months, and my body's starting to say no to the heavy amount of calories, because this time we've done it very different as well. So last time, yes, I was eating a lot of calories, but there wasn't a lot of food because we were having things like squares bars, muffins, bagels, cookies, burgers on an evening, just to get like the calories up. But we definitely agree that to build quality tissue, you need lean, good sources of food, rather than obviously those types of food. So we have gone down the route of going for more whole foods this time. So I think that calories went up to around 4,800, if I remember, at the peak. And then right now, when we're in a deficit, I think, what deficit? Can we call it a deficit? I think it's around 3,500 calories.
Would that be a deficit for you, or is it? It is.
Yeah,
So,
yes. I think that last prep, my calories went the lowest to 1,800 calories, which for like a female is actually not really that bad.
no.
On a training day, I think it went down to 2,2. But yeah, on a rest day, it went down to 1,800. Like I could feel it because compared to what I had been on, it was quite low. But for like the normal, it's obviously not. But I have a big appetite, like I really do, and I can put food away without really getting chunky. But I never used to be able to. But I think that was because I was on contraceptive, and since I come off that, the way that I process food's much better.
What, the pill?
Yeah, I was on the it wasn't the progesterone only one, it was the other one. But yeah, I used to hold water, hold food in all the wrong places. So ever since I came off that, I definitely feel better.
Yeah. I've not got a big appetite. You must have a big appetite to eat that much. But obviously my calories were quite high before. Even before, I think the highest calories I've ever been on is like 2,200. I've never pushed that high because I've never had a coaching off season. So I've just eaten whatever I want, basically. But so if it's on just over 3,000 now, I think it was on 2,800. And I could not believe I was starving. Even on checking, he was like, "You're eating a lot of food." I was like, I'm dying, not to be dramatic, but I'm dying.
I'm really hungry. That's a good thing though. I think that a great place to add calories when you struggle with eating is fats. It's a great way to actually add calories to your day if you struggle with eating. I think going down the fats route, so the nut butters and the chocolate, seeds, butters, things like that are definitely a good way to actually add it without needing to add lots of quantity.
Yeah, I've got chocolate every day, which I'm so thankful for because I am a chocolate fiend. But that's the only thing I really have an appetite for. Like, even if I'm stuffed, chocolate, all right.
Mine's more savoury. I miss my crisps.
Okay, I see. I'm not a fan of crisps. Or I'm going to say something outrageous now that bodybuilders will find ridiculous is I hate bagels.
Yeah, see,
I hate bagels, and they've just been put in, and I'm gonna have to. I can force it down. Same with chicken. I don't really like chicken, but I can force it down. But it's not a fan. I'm just not a fan.
I don't mind a bagel. I mean, I could leave them.
Anything bready for me is just not.
Not now.
I don't know why. Maybe because being celiac, in my head,
Yeah,
it's like,
a no-go.
yeah, and it's always dry. Gluten-free bread, dry as
Yeah.
fuck.
Unless you're adding loads and loads of butter to it, it's kind of a no.
Yeah. So why are you in a deficit now? Like, what's the reason you've decided to cut back?
So the other
Because of your
day,
appetite.
yeah, the other day I was just sat there eating my rice and it all just came back. And I was like, this is not nice. Literally grain by grain, I could feel exactly what had gone down. And I was like, oh no. So I just said to Cuba, we need to do something. He was like, no, yeah, we do. So we've gone into I mean, we haven't really altered food too much. We've just taken away the bits that were super stodgy. So the big amounts of cream of rice, we've lowered them by like 20 grams. So I've seen a little bit of a droppage on the scale. We'll probably then increase food again and then probably start prep at around 16 weeks out.
So will you introduce more food when you're hungry again?
Yeah, I'm quite hungry today, to be fair.
You must have been literally full to the brim for it to start.
Honestly, it wasn't going down anymore. It's just we tried to change up carb sources to see if that would help, and it did for a couple of days, and then after that it was just like, no, it's just the quantity of food. Plus I'm trying to be a little bit more stationary compared to last off season as well, because we found that has helped me grow quite a bit.
Okay.
Just not being as active, because I am a very active person by nature. So we've got the steps down to around 10 to 12k now, because they used to be 20, 22.
Do you find it hard to keep your steps down?
Oh yeah, I don't know how people struggle to do 10k. When my clients are like,
No.
oh, I'm struggling to do my 10k, I'm like, how? Like, what do you do? Even when I worked in an office, I struggled to keep my steps below 10k.
You got a dog though.
I have got, well, I've got 2 dogs. Yeah, I guess that's one part, but even that, I don't really sit down in the house. I'm always doing something, and sometimes I sit at the end of the day and I think, what have I actually done to do this? And I just don't know.
I've done nothing.
Yeah.
I'm on 8k steps now, and I'm finding it really hard to keep them that low, because where I work at the moment, it takes like 5,000 steps to like walk the building. Like I was having to get Ubers home because I couldn't walk home, because that was like another 3,000, and then I got to walk the dogs. Now when I walk the dogs, I just stand in the field and let them run around. And I'm like, sorry, I can't, I can't walk with you. Yeah, no, I agree. It's hard to keep them down, especially if you're so active and you're always in the gym and stuff. Do
Yeah,
you do personal training sessions as well, or just online coaching?
no, just online coaching. I never actually became PT. I was a teacher. I was a PE teacher and trained through that with uni, and then went into banking just because I met somebody on a plane, and I ended up working in banking. I don't know why. It was a very strange.
A job's a job.
Yeah, no, I loved it, and then ended up getting a great promotion into working in corporate finance. So I still did my bodybuilding, obviously, alongside all of that. That's when I won my pro card. Then over the course of the off season, I was like, I really, really enjoy bodybuilding and want to be able to obviously progress this quite well. And I think that online coaching is probably going to be a way that actually fits into what I want to achieve a little bit better. So I started building up my client base. Obviously, in terms of knowledge wise, I wanted to be able to build enough knowledge to feel content in the way that I was able to support a person with their bodybuilding needs before I actually progressed with that. But yeah, I never did PT, never did one-to-ones in the gym. It's never been anything that's really, it doesn't give me a lot of love if I think about it. But with some of my clients now, if they come for a face-to-face check-in for obviously their preps and stuff, we'll go through a couple of movements as well, just to make sure that everything's a-okay with their training. But yeah, no, PT's never really been something that I've had that desire to do.
Yeah, so you do see some of your clients one-to-ones?
Oh yeah. Especially when they're coming down for a competition, I think it's really important to be able to see them in person, because a video and a picture sometimes does hide things. Sometimes it can give people justice, sometimes it can not do people justice. So I think it is always important to be able to see someone in person.
Yeah, it depends on the lighting that they've taken in the videos
Yeah,
and stuff. Do they ever do it and you're like, for fuck's sake, I can't see anything?
yeah. So I have a client Zoom on a Saturday, and that was one thing that we went through: how to do a check-in.
That's why
Exactly.
I bought this. That's what I was
Yeah,
told to buy this because yeah.
that's what we've got. We've actually got a
Oh, pull down.
yeah, it's a blackout blind that we've attached to the ceiling. And then obviously I don't like it when the camera's too low, because it actually makes someone look better or bigger. So it's always better to obviously have it a little bit more front on, and then being in front of a window is always the best thing.
I thought if the camera's low that would be better because that would be where the judges are sat.
No, because if you think about a judge, yes, they're sat below you, but they're actually sat that far away from you that when you're on a stage, it looks like they're in front of you.
Yeah,
Well,
mine's on
they,
my windowsill, so it's kind of like really, really
yeah,
high. But I thought that might have been too high because of the.
yeah, I always go with rib height. I think that if you have it too low, you can't really see anything, especially from the back. You're just looking at ass, aren't you? I mean,
Yeah.
as much as it's probably nice for some people, I do actually want to be able to see my clients everywhere.
Yeah. What about lighting? I know you said natural light, but for someone like me, for example, I am pale. So
Yeah.
the natural light makes me look see-through pretty much.
Yeah, I think that a ring light's always quite good to have if it does make you look a little bit see-through. But I am actually quite pale, and I tend to go for a really pale bikini when I'm really pale. And that way, for some reason, it makes the camera not actually show up the paleness of my skin so much.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting tip.
if I go for a darker bikini, that's when I start to look a little bit washed out.
Yeah. With your previous competitions, you said on your YouTube channel that you were working on your posterior chain.
Yes.
How is that going? Because on your videos you look fucking massive.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I am still quite small, but yeah, no, it's going really well. I think really focusing on the execution with it all, making sure that we've put a lot of upper back bias things, lat focus things, making sure that the hinges are done with the most precision that we possibly can, has been the most important thing throughout this off season. So I think that the execution and the way that we both really control our movements now has been the way that we've actually developed it. So I do think that there's been some great progression with it. Obviously, there's always room for more, but that can come next off season now.
Yeah. So how many what's your split? How many back days do you have?
So I still do push pull legs. So obviously backs only hit on the pull days. So that's every 5 days really.
Okay. What about your legs?
Same, yeah. It's a
Do
5.
do do you ever put your back in with your legs or your legs in with your back?
So I guess you could kind of say that we hit legs a little bit on pull. So we will hit the glutes, and on the hinges, obviously, you do target a little bit of glute and ham as well as your back. But when it comes to leg day, that is specified just for legs. But we definitely have got more glute and ham focus in our leg days now compared to the quads, because the quads didn't really need to come up. We just needed to balance out more the back of the legs with the front, and I think that we've done that quite well too.
To see what you look like lean down.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the difference, to be fair. I think it will be, I'm hoping, or I'm thinking that it will be a big improvement on last time. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So if you're what was the difference this off season working on your back to previous? Why was your posterior chain lacking?
I think because we, like I say, with the training, we just develop and get more understanding and really focus on what it is that we need to do. Everything's always evolving, isn't it? So I guess the exercise selection just became very much more focused on everything. We definitely learned to train a lot better this time on really focusing on key areas. So definitely having the more lat focused things and upper back focused things, whereas last time the movements probably just weren't done to actually target the back and probably just more bicep. So I think just execution, really.
Yeah, I noticed that you train slow.
Yeah, very slow and precise, and then get strong like that. It's just definitely the way to help and progress your body in any way.
Do you train to failure as well with
Yes,
everything?
I do train to failure. No forced reps though.
What do you
I
mean?
do.
Like losing form?
So yeah. So training to failure, if you do train to failure anyway, you wouldn't go for a rep that was bad form, because that's not training to failure. You train to failure to the point where you fail, but whilst your form is still impeccable. And then when it comes to kind of adding the load with that as well, I think that once you actually reach that true failure point within that rep range, you need to make sure that you are going to that right top end of the rep range before you add in more load, and just making sure that your form stays perfect the whole time.
So how would you know when to add more weight? Like
When
when you fail on like 12 or
so I'd probably have a rep range, what, 9 to 12, something like that. And if I'm pushing past that boundary of those 12 reps, I'd know that it's time to up the weight next time.
yeah, just pile it on. So if you train to failure, do you get a spot as well, or is that not included in your fail? Is it fail just for you?
Yes, that would be more. I mean, there's always a spotter there just to make sure that it's safe. But I guess that's more the forced rep. So if you're doing like a shoulder press and you get to there and then someone puts it up, that is a forced rep. Whereas I don't want that, because that's not going to help me build muscle. So I'd rather just drop the dumbbells.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. I always say to my friend, don't help. I'll help her with hers, but
Yeah.
don't touch mine, and I'll just hold it for as long as I can.
Yeah, I think that's something that Jordan's really kind of called home with Kuba, is like, we used to do leg extensions and then we'd do like 3 force reps at the end where he'd help me, but like it was just taken away. It was just making more fatigue, and it's just not needed.
What about like doing negative reps? So like them helping you get it up and then you slowly take it down. Where do you think that would?
No, I just don't see the point in it.
Okay.
No, I think if you're gonna move the weight from A to B for the focus of it being for muscle growth, you need to be doing it yourself.
Yeah.
There's the genetic elite that could probably do the whole force rep thing and swinging it about and still build muscle. But when it comes to the majority of us, including myself, I can't do that to be able to build muscle. I'll just get injured or fatigue too much, and my recovery will just become shit.
Yeah. Interesting. Because that was always spoke about doing negative reps and supersetting. There's always so many different ways, and
Just pulling away from the way that you can actually build muscle, especially when you're not genetically. I can talk about it because I'm not.
I'm not either, unfortunately.
It is what it is, and we just work hard to be able to get there, because people that are genetically, especially the top end Olympia people, they train extremely hard, why they are as good as what they do. But we have to train just as hard to be able to try and get up there with them.
Yeah, I am not. I hit my genetic wall, as I would say, kind of, for the food I was eating. So then I was on a course of Anavar. I did 8 weeks of 10 milligram. I've been off for a week. I now feel, at the time I didn't feel like it was doing much, but I now feel a little bit weaker.
Yeah, you will get that little bit of drop off with strength when you come off cycle. You do obviously get that little bit of extra help when it comes to strength, when it comes to things like Anavors and your Primobolan, that will definitely help with everything like that. But I think sometimes also it can be a little bit mental in terms of you think, oh, well, I'm off cycle, so I should be getting weaker. But I guess the only time that I ever do get weaker is when I'm in a deficit. So when I come off cycle or when I'm on cycle, I do find that both kind of scenarios, my training progresses still at a normal rate, probably a little bit more when I'm on cycle compared to when I'm off, but it still will build. But when I am in a deficit, that's when strength takes a hit, more so on the push sessions rather than pull legs.
Yeah.
Pull legs are obviously a bigger muscle group. I've got a little bit more muscle there compared to kind of the upper body. But yeah, that's kind of the only session that really takes a hit when I do go into a deficit. But it's a given, and I just make sure that form still stays impeccable even though weight is dropping, because that way muscle mass will either maintain or still grow.
Yeah. So would you only do cycles off season?
As in
Heads.
head wise.
Yeah.
So I still as in I run peds throughout my prep as well. I would say that yes, I will cycle on and off when in off season. I try to take as long off as possible during my off season. So this off season, I only had 10 weeks on cycle, and obviously I've been in off season now 7 months. So I've only done a 10-week cycle during that whole 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then the beginning of my prep, I will do the first part of it off cycle. And then towards the end of prep, I will then jump back onto cycle. Because like as a woman, you do risk things like virilization, you do risk things getting different and becoming more masculine when it comes to taking peds, regardless of what ped it is you do use, especially like if you use a ped for too long, regardless of what it is, you are going to see negative sides. So it is important to have some time off to make sure that you do stay feminine. Some people aren't bothered about it, so they will just stay on. But for me, I want to be able to have children. I want to stay feminine looking, and I'm in it for the long run. So it's not a massive bother to me to be off longer than what I am during a year. I'd much prefer that. To be fair, I probably feel more feminine and kind of better when I'm off than when I'm on. But the nature of the class and with how good I want to be, it's kind of comes with it that it's going to have to be a time when I am on cycle. So
Yeah.
That's my viewpoint on it. Obviously some people are different, but that's kind of my viewpoint.
How long is too long on?
In my personal opinion, I don't think that you want to push past that 10 to 12 week mark. I mean, it might push past that with prep, but to make sure that everything is a-okay, I would say that you want to come off after prep as long as what you've just been on, to make sure that everything stays a-okay.
Yeah. I've only done far. To be honest, I just want to see what other stuff does. Like, I'm intrigued to see what the effects was if you've done. I don't want children, so that part doesn't really matter to me. Same with the whole looking feminine thing, doesn't really matter to me anyway. That's what fillers for, isn't it? But yeah, I'm just so intrigued to see what stuff does when you're pushing the food and you're pushing weight.
Yeah, I think you can get a lot of merit out of good training and good people.
Yeah, I just want to see what is the big difference.
Yeah.
Like, is there, do you know what I mean? Is there that much of a difference? Because I've heard you've done a podcast before and you previously said that, and I've heard from other people that Olympians do less than probably your average Joe.
Yeah.
Because everything else is so 100%.
Yeah.
So I did a podcast with Roshana, and she's a bodybuilder, an Olympian bodybuilder, and she runs tests.
Yeah.
But I personally wouldn't look at her and think she did. Do you know what I mean? Like, for the horror stories you hear, how people look.
Yes. Some some people are lucky in that it doesn't affect them. Some people aren't that it does. So it's a case of, I guess, finding out what works for you. But yeah.
I reckon to be an Olympian, you've got to have some good old genetics anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely. But to be fair, even people with good genetics definitely do have to work hard to get to.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But she must have king genetics. A little bit jealous. You train at Ultraflex, right?
Yeah, in Rotherham.
Yes, I've been to the one in Leeds. Fucking incredible gym. Shame I'm so far away. There's quite a few athletes that train with you at that gym, isn't there?
Yeah, we've got quite a few pros. We've got quite a few professional boxers, quite a few professional powerlifters that actually train out of there. Got many.
Do you think it helps that there's other pros, or does it do the opposite, or do you not care?
I don't really care, to be fair. When I go to train, I'm there for me. It's like we've spent the whole of the last year just training when it's just me and Cuba. And even if I just had to train on my own and Cuba wasn't there, my training would be exactly the same. I used to train on my own in a diving pool for 12 years. Every afternoon I'd be in there on my own. So I think the kind of motivation to train doesn't come from external. It's nice to be able to talk to people, especially like-minded people. I enjoy it for that aspect. But when it comes to training, it really don't make a difference for me.
Are you usually like, do you try and compete at the same time, or does everyone just do their own thing? Or
Everybody does their own thing. It kind of what fits best for them and their years at their year. There's one of the figure pro lady who actually trains out of my gym, Kira Aston, and she came and did the Romanian Muscle Fest, which was really nice to be able to do together, to be fair, because she's such a lovely girl. So yeah, she's the only one that's actually in my class that trains out of there, but it was nice to be able to do that together last year. But I don't think that she's going to compete in bodybuilding this year. She's going to focus on her powerlifting. So hopefully in a year or so we might actually go and do another competition together, because it was nice.
yeah, I follow her. She is strong as fuck.
Yeah, she's very strong, very strong.
So strong, like unbelievably strong. She's big, but she's like strong.
Yeah,
So I think she'd be quality doing powerlifting.
Yeah, like a superhero.
Yeah. I know. Watching you in Cuba, you do like deloading.
Yeah.
I'm not really 100% what that is.
Okay.
And how you would know when to deload.
Okay, so a deload is there to help with a few different things. So fatigue, if you're feeling fatigued when you're training, if you're feeling fatigued away from the gym, if your sleep's taking a hit, if appetite is taking a hit, a deload could be something that you actually implement to make sure that you get rid of that fatigue, to make sure that everything else can stay on point. Obviously appetite can just go because you're eating too much food as well. But the first point of contact, first point of call to be able to reduce and improve all of those things would definitely be a deload. I guess there's different ways you can run a deload, either lesser volume or no training at all. But it just really depends on how knackered you really are. But I guess me and Kuba tend to run one around every 4 to 5 weeks. If we need one earlier, then we will. But they've probably been, again, another reason as to why we've both progressed and got better this year, because we're just not running ourselves into the ground. People think that they need to train every single day, every single year to be able to progress. But resting and taking some time off when needed will actually help you grow muscle again. Just because it's not good to be knackered when you're training, because your session will not be optimal and your recovery will not be optimal, which will not allow you to build muscle.
It just never sounds right, does it? That you've got to rest or do less weight to get bigger, and you're like, no, I don't believe it.
Yeah, I guess so. But like again, with my previous sport, it was the same. If we got too tired, or if we just weren't able to focus during our sessions when we were diving, we would take extra rest, come back, be refreshed and ready to go again.
Yeah. So you can either have days off, or would it be weeks off?
No.
No.
So I think that the max rest that we've ever done is kind of 2 days, and then that's it really.
Okay. I think I could cover that. You're training, you guys are pushing hard as possible.
Yes.
Is Cooper going to do the same competitions as you as well? You're going to prep?
He's going to do the last 2 competitions with me, and then the other one that he's doing, my class isn't in it, so we'll be going on separate ways the first time.
But do you still fly out together?
No, he'll not come to America with me, because he'll be a week out from his show, so that'd take away too much from his competition. And then we'll see how I feel after I come back as to whether I go to his.
Do you normally go with each other?
Yeah. Since we've got together, we've never done a competition apart.
So you going to America will be your first one without him?
Yeah, but I'm excited for it. It'll be nice to go and experience it on my own for a change.
Plus Florida, it's nice anyway, hot. Will you stay out there for a period of time, or will you do your comp and then come back?
Yeah, I'll just do my competition and then come back. Just because I'll still be in prep, so there's not really any chance of a little holiday. So yeah, be back and then straight back to the drawing board.
Ready for the next one. Always prepping, even when you're off season. So it's still a prep. I see something that you are starting a podcast?
We might be, yeah. Me and Ria might be starting a podcast. We haven't had a conversation fully about it yet, but we may be. We just need to have a little brainstorm and see when it'd be the right time, what kind of angle we want to go with, and just take it from there, really.
But it will be bodybuilding based, I'm guessing.
Yes, yeah. More down the route of probably us having a little bit of fun and then getting other people on board.
Yeah, so you guys have competed loads, you've got a lot of stories and you've got a lot of knowledge, so
yeah. I guess it helps because we've both known each other for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it with somebody that it just kind of comes naturally bouncing off each other, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, she's a brilliant athlete. On the Olympia stage, she looked incredible.
Yes, I completely agree. She's an extreme role model to me, so it's an honor to be her friend.
What other athlete inspirations? Obviously Ria.
There's just so Ria and Corinne are both my biggest inspirations. Corinne more on a personal business and kind of competing aspect. I guess body goals would be Linda Murray, but which bodybuilding female isn't?
Yeah, true.
And then obviously Ria as well, just because she's my close friend. She's a wonderful human and she's incredible.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you're a lot of people inspiration as well.
Oh.
You must be.
I don't see it as myself, but yeah.
So your ultimate, you said previously, your ultimate goal in your bodybuilding career would be to be on the Olympia stage.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's my, I guess everybody can say it, but I work hard very, very much so every day to try and achieve that goal. So hoping that in the next couple of years that will be achieved.
And to win a pro show.
Yes, most definitely to win a pro show. I'd really like to be able to win a pro show to then qualify myself for the Olympia. I think that would be a real great achievement that I'd be super proud of.
Because you can get there via points.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. I mean, either way, to be able to go to the Olympia is absolutely amazing, but I would really love to win a pro show at some point in the future.
Well, that'll be your next one. I'm sure it will be. You've been working hard and you've packed on a lot
of muscle to build.
You never know, because now there's the bodybuilding category, then
yeah,
the size
change a bit. Yeah, we might start moving to different classes, but we just have to wait and see, because those girls at that competitions, it very much humbles you when you're around that caliber of athlete. Trust me.
I suppose when you're looking left and right, like, oh shit.
Yeah, definitely.
But then if you're in the lineup, you're up there as well. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So, well, I have a few off-topic questions for you as while we end. What would you rather come to face with, a lion or a bear?
A lion.
You can outrun a lion?
Lion, because I have really wild blonde, especially in the morning, so he always calls me his little lion. So I think that I'd like to meet a lion. I mean, it'd probably eat me, but yeah, I think I'd rather come face to face with a lion than a bear.
More of a chance to outrun a lion than a bear. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think I'd outsmart it there.
What would your superhero name be?
I don't know. Kuba calls me Megatron.
Oh, that's a pretty good name.
Yeah. I think that would be a good one. I'd like my superhero power to be. What would I want it to be?
That was actually my next question as well. Yeah.
I'd like to be able to time travel, I think.
Where would you go? Back or forward?
Oh, always backwards. I'd like to go backwards more to a time before I was born. I think I'd like to go back to the 70s and 80s because that's the music that I most enjoy.
Oh, so really?
Yeah. I think I'd much prefer to be able to go there.
I think I'd go back to the 90s rave scene. I was born then, but yeah, that would be my kind of vibe.
Go back to the roots.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And we finally managed to get together.
No, wonderful.
And I hope all goes well with your prep and your comps, and I will be following as I subscribe anyway.
Thank you. I'll make sure that I'm posting every 2 weeks. Sometimes I forget. So I need to make sure that I'm
you need to be on it so I can follow.
Yeah, probably.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye. Bye.